All right.
Set.
You'll get to introduce yourself to Missy.
Yep, we're good to go.
Officially.
All right, let me call the Gloucester Board of Health meeting of June 5, 2025 to order. It is roughly 5:37. And we are in the Harbor Masters Conference Room. This is a public meeting to which the public is welcome to attend in person. However, you can also join via Zoom for the links shown. Please note that the in-person meeting, however, will not be interrupted or terminated if the technological problems prevent or interrupt the remote connection. First order of business is roll call. Let's go around the table, and if everyone could identify themselves, including our guests. Peter.
Peter Durning, attorney from Beryl Dana, and I'm serving as attorney for the Board of Health during the set assignment process.
Dominique Curley, Health Director.
Joe Rosa, Chair of the Board.
Eric Kaplan, Vice Chair of the Board.
Erin George, Board of Health member.
Marco Balboa, Board Member.
Chelsea Goldstein Walsh, Preventive Director.
Danielle Larrabee, Administrative Assistant. Alva Jordan, Intern in the Department of Health.
Bree Turco, Senior Health Inspector.
Is there anyone on?
I'm sorry, just really quickly, can we give Marco a packet? Just want to be sure.
Oh. No other members of the staff on mine?
Danielle's driving.
No one else to be introduced?
No.
That's my question. Okay. So let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is public oral communication. That's an opportunity for members of the public, whether in person or via Zoom, to comment on an item that is not on the agenda, and they have 3 minutes to do so. Is there anyone?
No hands are raised. We have to tell people to raise their hand. So that they know who raised their hands.
Open to comment now.
She's on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay, if anyone online wants to talk, please raise your hand using the little button on your screen. I don't see anyone.
Okay. The next item is the approval of minutes of May 1st, 2025. So second, any amendments, changes, edits? All in favor? Marco?
Marco, yes.
Erin, yes.
Eric, yes.
Joe Rosa, yes. The minutes of May 1st, 2025 are approved as written. The next item on the agenda concerns 7 Railroad Avenue and appeal of suspension of tobacco sales.
Or Joyce. Bree, I think you could read.
Joyce
line.
is with
Joyce? So
I'm
Joyce-
here.
She just joined.
Oh, she did that. Okay, great.
Joyce, we just hit the agenda item for the tobacco, so if you would like to present the case, please.
Sure. So on May 8th at approximately 5:57 p.m., a youth was sent into Railroad Ave Liquors. The youth asked for a pack of Newports, and they were sold to her. It was an older adult male, balding and wearing a sweater vest is what she reported. The product cost $13.93. And this is their 3rd violation within 36 months. So it's a $5,000 fine and a 30-day suspension of their tobacco permit.
Okay, are you wanting to speak to the issue?
Oh, sure, yeah, I just,
So if you could introduce yourself.
Allison Brigham, owner of Railroad Avenues. I just, yes, we've had 3 violations, the 2 prior, I did terminate the clerks. This in question was my manager of 26 years. He claims that the person looked of age, and I know that is not an excuse at all. But He said she was wearing hat, glasses, didn't really make eye contact. And looked of age, whether he thought that was 18 or 21, I don't know, because people are confused about that. I know it's been a long time, but. Anyway, so as far as that, I just feel like the fine, number one, is extreme and. It's at my location where Shaw's is closed, we're definitely losing business. We don't promote selling to minors, obviously. I have on my POS, I have a scanner. It says check for ID with everything. I can't be there all the time, obviously, and it just was a complete lapse of judgment, but I feel like the 30-day suspension and the fine is pretty extreme.
Now, that is the code, unfortunately. We have very little latitude in that regard. I'm sympathetic to you. You're in a
Yeah.
peculiar position right now with Shaw's. But there's not an awful lot we can do unless there's some error that's factual in the case, and doesn't seem like there is one.
So, I mean, I will say I did, from my cigarette salesperson, he did tell me in other states, if, I don't know if it's even a point to be made with that, in other states, the license holder is not charged the fine, it's the person that sells the cigarettes. I don't
think that's the case in Massachusetts, is that?
It's not Massachusetts state law. Massachusetts state law holds the owner of the establishment, and has, that's even in local law going back like 25, 30 years. If I could ask just a question through the chair, did the owner say that she didn't know if the law is 18 or 21 regarding the sale of tobacco?
I believe I should let her answer for herself, but my interpretation, before you do, my interpretation of what she said was that distinguishing between 18 and 21 was somehow difficult for this particular employee.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because if that were the case, I would definitely stop by and do an educational visit, and that unfortunately, it's no longer a judgment call. State law requires you ID everyone every time. We call it the Fenway rule, and it prevents those kind of decision-making on any clerk.
I do try to apply those rules, but like I said, I can't be there all the
Right,
time.
no, I understand. But nonetheless, that is the law, and we have very little flexibility, and it's state law, so it's afraid there isn't much that can be done. Just encourage you to meet up on your employees to make sure that they're aware that it's a costly mistake.
It is, yes. I told him. My other thing would be for right now to request like some sort of like payment plan
Is
as
that
opposed to like the
possible?
$5,000 upfront.
Part of our local regulation on public.
I think that'd be probably up to the discretion of the board, I would assume. If they would be willing to allow that.
And I would just chime in, it has happened in other municipalities. I would just say that, give it a set time if you're going to do it, and it could be you setting precedents. If this has never been done on any fine, not just tobacco, but any, you may be setting precedents, but it has happened. The boards have decided to issue a payment plan per se with a deadline that it has to be paid, like 6 months or whatever.
I know we have done it for others where we've extended time for, payment in the past for at least one other establishment since I've been here. It wasn't a payment plan per se, they just asked for extended amount of time, so.
What's the board's sentiment on extending the time of payment of the $5,000 fine?
I think that would be reasonable. I think that's fine. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I'm perfectly happy with that. Is 6 months a reasonable timeframe?
I think so.
I just have one more question, sorry to interrupt. The 30-day loss of sales, is that mass state law?
That is state law, I believe, yes. That's
State and
probably-
local, and it has to be consecutive days. You can't break that up, unfortunately.
And what determines the dates of the suspension?
I determine the dates just based on our board meeting so that it gives time
Oh,
to have the, yeah.
so that.
It was
can
just
change,
a
right?
bit, no, cause it's been, there were five establishments that failed to comply, so it's to keep everyone consistent, so everyone has the same date, yeah. Yeah.
So the start of the 6-month payment period is now, or should that coincide with the beginning of the 30 days, or what's typically done?
It's at your discretion.
It's at your discretion.
Brittany, you were mentioning that the start of the 30-day suspension would be to
It starts next week on Monday.
next week on Monday, so let's start the 6 months then as well.
Okay.
Any other comments? Anything else? Sorry,
No,
I'm
I
sympathetic,
understand.
but it's the state and the board takes all of this very seriously, so
I do
hence
too.
the
I
hefty.
try to.
All right,
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, can I just ask one question? Bree, you're starting all 5. I forget how many there were that would,
Yeah,
so,
but
so
so
they'll
I-
all have some suspension starting Monday.
all of their suspensions start Monday and then the varying degrees. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. If you could just send that to me, I'll make sure that we get up there for an inspection.
Okay, yep, and I can also pop in too as well throughout
Okay.
if need.
Excellent.
Perfect.
any other comments from anyone? Any other comments?
Just as far as like payments, would you want them like a set payment or just it to be paid within 6 months?
What's typical?
There is no typical because it's the.
Okay, so what would the department prefer in terms of paperwork being done or
I think
anything
it's,
else?
I think it's to be at the discretion. Bree, why don't we just work
Yeah,
with you and figure out what's amenable and if you all are fine, we'll let you know what
sure.
that time agreement, the payment terms.
One
So-
other thing, kind of unrelated, but my tobacco permit is supposed to be renewed
Mhm.
July 1st, so should I
Yep.
proceed with that?
Yeah. Yep.
Although,
cause it's just suspended, it's not,
yeah, okay,
yeah.
alright.
Okay.
Yep.
All right,
Thank you. So I'll just set that up for you.
Yeah, we'll
Okay,
we'll reach out,
alright, thank you.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
yeah, thank you. Next item on the agenda is about the director's report and specifically the briefing on what has occupied the board for the past week or so. Deliberate briefing on deliberations. This is not meant to be a deliberation. Let me just make that clear here so that don't step in anything. This is just a briefing on the process to be involved and give us some guidance on that.
So I've invited Attorney Durning here to continue to coach us as he has been, and I'm gonna hand over the mic, so
Great.
the virtual mic.
Thank you, Dominique. And first, I guess I'd like to say to all the individual board members, thank you very much. Coordinating your schedules, making yourself available for multiple nights of hearing on a short time frame, and you're not quite done yet, is a big sacrifice that you make as part of your public service, and we don't take that lightly at all. We appreciate the extended time that you've given. And I know that you're likely anxious to begin processing and discussing all of the material that you've received thus far. I'm gonna ask you, just as Chairman Rosa just mentioned, to hold off a little bit more, because this exchange right now is really about process and logistics. And it's not about assessment or discussion of the facts that would get us in towards deliberation. We're going to hold that until the meeting that you have a week from now, Thursday, June 12th, and that will be an opportunity for us to really have a robust exchange amongst the board members and to discuss your positions vis-a-vis the extent to which this application complies with the criteria. So the important update for the Board of Health generally, and as you as board members know, is that the public hearing portion of the site assignment process is now closed. That's what the hearing officer, Art Krieger, did at the end. And the significance of that is that at this point, no new information is coming before the board unless there's some unusual circumstance where a party may file a motion to ask the board to ask the hearing officer to help reopen the hearing. The hearing remains closed. So the information you've received is the information to assess. As was discussed last night, the parties, and that includes the applicant and all 6 interveners, they've qualified as parties, have the ability to submit a closing argument. One, Kylie Davis did that dramatically last night. The others are opting to file a brief. And as the hearing officer, Art Krieger, mentioned, they may consolidate. Some of the parties may go in together to submit one brief. Some may opt not to provide that. What I expect that they will do is similar to the exercise that I would recommend that each of you do in the time before those briefs are due on Tuesday. And that would be to take the site suitability criteria, and I don't know, is it?
They all
It
have,
has
yeah.
been distributed,
So
yes.
this one there was another one version that had been created. This one's even better because it gives you a quick summary of the relevant criteria. And what I would recommend that you do is work through the criteria, reviewing any notes, reviewing materials that you received, and making notations to yourself to the extent to which you believe an individual criteria has been satisfied, the extent to which you believe that a condition should be imposed so as to ensure public health and safety with respect to the issues involved there, and then receive the briefs. I anticipate that those briefs will do a similar format of discussing the criteria and advocating where there was evidence in support of one conclusion or another, and using that against your own recollection and assessment of the evidence, the briefs as the advocates may present, and then bringing that to the hearing on the deliberation session next Thursday is where we'll get to be able to come to a conclusion. The ultimate finder of fact as to the satisfaction of any of the criteria, that is what's up to the 4 of you. I am here to assist you in parsing through the evidence and parsing through the criteria, but the determination as to whether or not it's been satisfied or not, that is determination of the Board of Health. And I'd point you, in addition to the site suitability criteria, there is language in the regulations regarding the ultimate decision that you will reach. That's 310 CMR 1620, section K. Section K2 describes the standard of what a decision should be. And it states a board shall determine that a site is suitable for assignment as a site for a new or expanded solid waste facility unless it makes a finding supported by the record of the hearing that the siting thereof would constitute a danger to the public health, safety, or environment based on the siting criteria set forth and established in 310 CMR 1640, which Dominique has provided the worksheet for you. That is really what you're called on to do, to apply these criteria against that standard. Is there evidence in the record that supports those conclusions? I'll pause there. Did you have a question?
Yeah, so you made the comment that you can either approve or add conditions, but there are other choices. So could you elaborate on the other choices?
Pardon me, certainly, yes, there are other conclusions. You could approve with conditions. You could also deny. If you feel that that standard is not met, that the citing criteria that the facility would constitute a danger to the public health, safety, environment based on this criteria, you have the power and authority to issue a denial. There's one other rarely used, but it's right there after 310 CMR 1620 K2, which is the standard of decision. There is a provision for a tentative decision. It states in the first tentative decisions shall not be issued as a matter of routine, so they are most unusual. It could be that a party would request it during the hearing. No party has done so, so we're past that. Or if the board determines that a tentative decision should be issued in the interest of justice, you could explore that opportunity. Every tentative decision shall be in writing, signed by a majority of the officials who rendered that decision, and every tentative decision shall contain a statement of reasons therefore, including a determination of facts pertaining to each of the site suitability criteria necessary. So that is an unusual step.
Is
If
it
you-
a tentative approve or a tentative disapprove?
No, I think it's effectively goes back to the applicant to do more. So it is not, you could issue an approval with conditions, and that a condition could say, we hereby direct the applicant to provide some additional information, resubmit that to the board, give the board an opportunity to consider that information in an open hearing, and then either make a decision to approve or disapprove at that time. I'm aware of decisions having gone that course.
Does that extend the timeline?
No, because, thank you, Chairman Rosa, you would have issued a decision within the timeline.
June
And
21st, by the way.
June 21st is the Saturday, so I think we have till the Monday, the 23rd. But let's get it done before the Saturday. But it would go back to the applicant to decide what to do. So if the applicant could have an option to appeal such a decision and decide that they want to buck that request, or to get a Superior Court judge to say that such a condition was too additional, that they didn't want to comply with it. But it would satisfy the requirement for issuing a decision within the timeline. The other one thing that I was going to get to is just in general, understanding of site assignment. I know that there's been some discussion of this in terms of this is but one step in the process. I think what's important to acknowledge is that site assignment itself is a condition that's going to run with the land. So once this area is designated as suitable for receiving solid waste, that will be recorded in the registry, and that land will hold that designation on into the future.
Regardless of ownership.
Regardless of ownership, it's going to be bound up with the land. And the law, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 111, 150A, is essentially there to provide a process whereby land can receive this designation. And that's what the process is being asked of you. There was a state process with the site suitability report, but there is this distinct local process where you, as the local Board of Health, also get to weigh in on that criteria, whether you would find that the proposal for this land, this proposed facility to operate as a solid waste receiving facility, would that constitute a danger to public health, safety, or the environment? So that's the portion where we are. That's the obligation that you have, and what your decision will find is that parcel, 24 Condyland, will now be able to receive solid waste in the future, subject to conditions if you impose them. Tony?
When that is, hold that accountability for perpetuity, no ability to change it? And will it affect the ability for zoning to, just curious on that one, does zoning now have any ability to?
That's a great question. That land will be site assigned. It will be able to be operated within the confines of what's approved with the conditions. But yes, if there was some subsequent zoning change, like if there was a zoning change regarding the height of building, that probably wouldn't affect it. If there was a zoning change that said this section of town can no longer have solid waste handling facilities, that could not.
We have no zoning for transfer stations,
Okay.
so, if it exists, well, can the zoning impact anything? I'm just, could they say?
Zoning could impact. Again, the example that I'm going to would be subsequent modification, let's say it gets approved, the facility is built. 10 years down the road, or 5 years down the road, there's a zoning change on height limits. 10 years down the road, the operator of that facility wants to build in additional floors up that would exceed the height criteria in the zoning ordinance. That it was site assigned wouldn't change its obligation to comply with that zoning element, but the zoning couldn't be changed to somehow negate the ability for this land to be site assigned.
So the site assign, the decision we make regarding site assignment essentially ignores local regulations. With regard environmental and health and safety, that's what many of our regulations are targeted towards.
So I wouldn't say that it ignores them, but it acknowledges that there can be other processes where those would be sorted out. So there, discussion of compliance with septic or compliance with Conservation Commission. To the extent those are triggered, any development of that parcel would need to comply with those. With respect to compliance with regulations, there was certainly talk that as a board, you're to presume that the facility will comply with state and federal regulations. That's slightly different from what you're saying, Joe, with respect to local regulations. But again, to the extent the development would need to comply with those, that would be through separate processes. And your analysis is based on the criteria as stated and your determination as to whether or not the evidence supports a finding that the site will comply with the criteria and be sufficiently protective of public health, safety, and the environment.
Our decision also has to be justified, so that if it were negative, for instance, or with conditions, those conditions would have to be laid out explicitly, or the reason for our disapproval would have to be laid out explicitly. We can't just say no, right?
That's right, and that would be described as findings that this board might make. So if you are working through the worksheet like this, and you're noting to yourself from your own review or your review of the briefs, facts that you believe support or justify a conclusion in a certain way, jot those down, share those during the deliberation, and they can be folded into the written decision saying the board makes the following findings, X, Y, and Z, based on the information in the record. And those findings will be cited and used to justify a certain conclusion, the imposition of a condition or a decision, either approval or a denial. So yes, grounding that decision on findings is going to reinforce the conclusion of the board. And should it be subject to some type of appeal, either from the project proponent or project opponent, the likelihood of a court reviewing the board's decision where it sees that the conclusion that you've made is based on a finding that is grounded on evidence in the record, that's going to bolster your conclusion rather than a summary conclusion that didn't include that. If the decision was a one-liner, or one word, like denied, period, that's not going to carry the day on review. But if your decision was a review of the evidence tied to the criteria, making findings and then stating a conclusion, that's going to be very strong. Mark, are you moving to ask a
I
question?
have a question. You say a lot about the findings and, you know, the evidence that was presented to us. What if, for example, our findings were a lack of such evidence? Is that what?
Like not enough evidence?
Yeah,
To say
like
that
what-
there is.
And I'm not saying that I'm just kind of thinking like it was presented to us with a lot of information. But our decisions based on those findings, but what if, for example, somebody said, okay, well, I don't think there was enough evidence to prove that this meets the requirement.
So I think that's going to be potentially, that could be a subject that you all discuss next week. I think there is going to need to be some assessment based on a party's assertion of a lack of evidence and a thorough review of what else is there. And if you, as the decider, the finder of fact, weigh those two things together and you decide you are not convinced that you have an allegation of not enough evidence, and you look to the rest of the record and you come to the conclusion that it was not there, that the applicant did not satisfy the site suitability criteria, then that could influence how you come to your conclusion. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. Any further questions?
In terms of crafting this response and any potential conditions, you will be writing this based on the words that we're saying, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay.
So we've,
I'm not a wordsmith.
I would anticipate that the applicant
Mhm.
will likely append to their brief a suggestion of potential findings and potential conditions, that you'll have that, I assume. I don't know
You
what
mean
exactly.
in terms of conditions they would recommend is that they would find acceptable in terms of trying maybe to preempt what they think we might.
Correct. I think in general, that's a good tactic for the applicant to do, to kind of prime the pump, to communicate that, hey, this is what will be acceptable. That will give you some degree of a parameter. It's also possible that the project opponents in their brief may suggest findings that you might make that could justify a decision in a different way. My colleague Peter Vicheri and I have been working with some models of language that we might use, but it's not at all ready for prime time because we haven't heard from you in your deliberations the direction that you want to go in. So but that process, we're contemplating it and wanting it to proceed, you know, appropriately once you come to a conclusion, because as Dominique noted and Joe referenced, the regulations do establish an outside deadline, 45 days from the beginning of the hearing when the decision must be reached. I know you've had some marathon sessions. I think that you'll be able to deliberate next Thursday and come to a conclusion. It's possible that you may need more time. So it's possible that there would be a meeting, a subsequent meeting to review a final decision and then ratify it by a motion and a second and approve the written decision, then have you all sign it and get it to the applicant before that 21-day deadline. So we do have some logistics to jump through. But that's roughly the process.
The meeting next Thursday is without any other input.
Thank you,
Part of
Joe.
the board.
That's a great question. So there's no receipt of new evidence. Weston and Sampson, your peer reviewer, is available. They will be present that day. Their role will not be to assess the evidence or give you some new information. Their support will be more in line of, if you requested of them, you could ask them about the practical feasibility of a condition that you're thinking of. And you could request a response from them in that context. But in general, you're not going to be hearing from the general public or the applicant. It's mostly going to be the dialogue amongst yourselves, facilitated with input from Dominique and guidance from me. Thank you for that question.
The owner will be there though.
I suspect that they would attend. I think they'll be interested.
Yeah.
At a minimum, I assume that Joel Favazzo, their representative, will be present, but I would expect the owner and their level of interest to participate also.
But not able to speak or comment or.
That's right. I think that if the board was compelled to ask a question of the owner. If a specific question was asked of them, I anticipate that they could answer.
So how is that not introducing new evidence then?
They wouldn't, so say for example, you were crafting a condition and it was somehow, I'm not exactly sure what it would be, on the borderline of acceptability. I don't know what it would be.
Doesn't matter.
And you'd say, will the applicant, you want feedback from the applicant that this would be feasible. Say, if Joel attached a draft and he had a draft decision to his brief and he suggested some conditions and the board wanted to tweak them, I think it could just do that in its own right. If it felt to get to some understanding that the feedback from the applicant on the crafting of the wording of the condition could be informative, I think it could ask that question, but I don't think that response would constitute evidence or the introduction of evidence.
The briefings that are due next Tuesday, those will be sent in advance of the meeting on Thursday
The
to us,
10th.
correct?
Correct, they should be received no later than 5 p.m.
Can we send them that worksheet and tell them to use that worksheet as a format?
I think it's a,
And then that way we're looking apples to apples, you know, so it's like just sort of some way of making sure that they're attending to that, like. Section by section, so that we actually don't have to like try and reinterpret or separate out emotional statement versus, you know.
so to me, if I was in any of the roles of the applicant or the opponent and I was told to write a brief, it would be, I would use these headings from the criteria, but then it would likely be more narrative rather than chart formation. I think we could send this to them as well and say, this is the format that the board is using. If you want to digest what you're advocating for in your brief with similar presentation in this format, you're welcome to do so.
Okay.
But my suspicion is that the briefing is going to take the opportunity to provide more narrative than the space would allow. But I think they could do it in bulleted point fashion to cross-reference what they've done in more elaborate fashion in their brief materials. But I'm certainly not against having a digested version to assist the board. But I think that's fine.
On that same note, can you help the board understand, you know, we've had Bobby Orlando, who takes the meeting notes for all of our meetings, also recording, translating and creating it, so it's not new evidence, it's synthesized content of the, you know, of the.
Straight from the
proceedings, yeah,
Facebook feed.
from the recording, yeah, so
Not
is it
Facebook,
possible for you to talk about how we would use such a tool?
So I think that's a real asset, and I know it's no small effort by Bobby. So I think that's quite good. In days before Zoom, the applicant likely would have employed a stenographer to be turning out those transcripts. When we have the benefit of transcribing services through Zoom, I think that that's a little bit of an asset, but crafting that into something that is readable and reliable is still a task. Having those minute notes, which is reducing the recorded information on the Zoom into a digestible, readable format, I think will be a great asset for you. I'm sure many nights of hearing, lots of testimony, but it will be a good hallmark for you to refer back. I recall somebody saying X, Y, or Z. If you can cross-reference that with the information in the transcription that Bobby's creating, that will give you that level of comfort that that assumption about what I thought a witness had mentioned is corroborated now, because I see it in the transcript. If you really wanted to, you could go back and find that moment. All the Zooms are available through Gloucester. You could rehear that if you wanted to. That would be a big task. Having Bobby's transcript, I think, is a good shortcut to get you to that information. That's a real
She's
asset.
done 3 so far, I think
That's
she's
great.
working on the others, so they're gonna lag a bit. We'll make her aware of the timeline of like, you'll be getting the briefs,
Mhm.
and so her goal would be to finish them. So Bobby, I know you're listening in now, right? So, and actually, maybe we could just ask her that question, how, if
Sure.
Bobby can come online and just let us know how she's trending on them.
This is one I need to listen to about an hour and a half, or.
So in that instance, 2 things, you need to fill out the form and get it notarized.
I can't do it until she does it.
No, you need to go listen to the hearing. You have to listen to the live
That's
hearing.
it, okay.
So those are on, I can send you the link to it, so you'll have access to that.
Yes.
And then you need to complete that, what's the name?
Mullen form.
Mullen form, and then take it to City Hall, they'll notarize it, and then that will be,
Yeah, that would be great.
after you listen to it, yeah. You can't read her notes and say that you were there, you have to literally watch the
Right.
proceedings,
Right. Thank you for raising that.
yeah.
Peter, could you just briefly, without taking too much time, talk about what the likely steps are after, say, approval with conditions or denial?
So we would then memorialize that in a written decision, circulate that to the board members for all of you to read, review, and agree that it accurately reflects the conclusions of the board. And then we need you to adopt that and physically, all of you sign it. And then we need to convey that back to the parties,
And
specifically the applicant,
From
but all
past
parties.
history, what happens in either of those circumstances? Approval would go on to the next steps regarding what goes on in the city with regard.
So right after the issuance of the written decision, that starts a timeline for a potential appeal period by any interested party. One of the significant steps of the interveners being recognized as parties is it gives them appeal rights on par with the applicant. And so all of those parties will likely be reviewing the written decision and deciding if anything in that decision is objectionable, such that they would pursue reversal or a modification of it by pursuing an action in Superior Court. Off the top of my head, I believe the timeline for that is 30
I
days.
think you're right.
And so any such party would need to file an action in Superior Court within 30 days and then serve the board so that they have noticed that that has occurred. They cannot proceed in any of those other steps for pursuing a permit to construct or an operating permit from DEP would be held up until they have site assignment.
They can't get a permit to construct until they have an operating approval from DEP, correct?
I think they get the approval to construct, and then upon physical review of what was authorized to be constructed, they then ask for the operating permit. I think it's construct first, then operating second.
Does anything come back before the board for review on the operating side?
The board can be an interested party in the DEP proceeding. It could comment on the request for an operating permit, but the board is not a decision-making authority in either of those
So this is
circumstances.
the moment for the board to affect the
This is the-
perpetuity of that site post-summit.
This is the board's opportunity, that's right. I mean, again, it can comment, but it doesn't have decision-making authority the way it does in this context.
It will, for instance, with subsequent applications for a new septic system. Yes, correct?
Sorry, what's the question again, Joel?
The role of this board in the process going forward. The presumption is that there will be a new septic system.
Yes, I
required,
agree.
And that's
That
the
would-
purview. of the
Such
board.
a septic system would come to the board in the ordinary course and would be reviewed on that criteria and context.
That's
That's
what
right.
transfer station accountabilities as well.
Yeah.
And operational point.
Sorry, that's not a small point either. I think what Dominique was just saying is that if this facility is operational, the board would have certain enforcement authority to ensure that the conditions that were imposed are being adhered to. Is that what you're saying? Absolutely.
And so let's, fast forward it to that point, they're operating, they decide to stop operating. That site can't be used for anything else except for the next transfer station.
It would be unusual for the property to convert to some other use, but it would not be forbidden. Any one of the other businesses on Condon Road could decide that's an attractive piece of property to do my boat repair business. They wouldn't be barred from doing that just because they're not doing solid waste. They'd be doing it on site assigned land, which site assigned land is a rarity. So it would be odd to elect to use site assigned land for another purpose, but it could happen.
And if the board put a condition that could not be met by the operator, would that be cause for stopping operation? If they didn't appeal it and then they're in there and, like, I don't wanna propose what that might be, but if they.
I think
put a
I'd
condition that
modify
cannot be
the
met.
language that you use. The language that you use seemed to be future that the facility could not comply with. I think for you to undertake an enforcement, you need a demonstration that they were not in compliance. Anticipating that they would not be in compliance might be premature.
You'd have to be able to measure and prove it, just what,
Right.
and if that moment happened. It could
Then they
be,
would be subject to enforcement. Yes, certainly. Okay,
Anything else?
I don't, did you mention that hypothetically there was denial? Like, what's the process after that?
so it's the same process, Marco. It would have to be, I would recommend that it be based on findings.
Of course.
And you could ultimately say, therefore, based on these findings and the failure to meet X, Y, or Z criteria, the board's decision is to deny. The applicant would have the opportunity to appeal that decision to Superior Court. Just as it would if it was an approval, but with conditions that it found onerous, it might seek a review by Superior Court.
But then, like, we're not involved anymore. Is that what you're saying?
The Gloucester Board of Health would be a party to that proceeding. Typically. Well, the Board of Health would be a party to that proceeding and would have the opportunity and ability to submit information to the Superior Court to say, no. This shouldn't be overruled, the denial shouldn't be reversed, because the decision was based on substantial evidence. There was information that the board cited in its findings. And that it determined that the criteria was not met, therefore, the opinion was supported. Just as a word of caution, there is a case from the city of Revere where the Board of Health in Revere summarily denied site assignment because it felt that there was not enough information. And the Superior Court reversed them, saying that the finding of lack of information was cursory or summary and wasn't substantiated. And therefore, the court reversed that decision and awarded the applicant the site assignment. So that's my word of caution about lack of information, but as the dialogue we had before, I think that to the extent the board wanted to make such a finding, if it cited to testimony in the record, making a statement or conclusion about a lack of evidence, that would be different from summarily saying denied for
So
lack
you're
of
saying they didn't go
information.
into enough detail to prove their case?
That's
Um,
correct.
I got it, okay.
That's correct.
Can we ask you for your professional opinion of places where the testimony showed weakness or perhaps, presents opportunity to explore a gap in expectation?
Next Thursday, yes.
Not right now, of course, not right now. No, I meant as part of this process, can the board ask you that question?
Yes, I will welcome those questions. Happy to assist in that regard.
And would you come prepared next Thursday to answer
I'm
those
going to do
questions?
the same exercise.
Okay.
Exercise. So to be in a position to assist in that regard.
Okay, great.
Other people that attend the meeting on the open meeting on next Thursday are not meant to participate.
That's correct.
Logistical question, where are we meeting and what is?
I
I was just saying, Danielle, get on that one.
I
We
don't
were
ask.
doing eye communication.
Oh, sorry, I
Yeah.
just wanna make sure.
I want to know the time and place.
That's okay. Do you wanna plan that now?
Sure, I'd love to hear if Bobby is online, how
She
she's.
is on.
Can we just ask Bobby really quickly, do you mind how
Sure.
she's trending on them? Cause I know they're a lot of work and I just wanna understand timeline for support.
She has the ability to speak, Bobby. Are you listening or? She's on.
Bobby, can you hear us? Taking a walk while they're recording.
I asked her to unmute,
Okay.
so we'll see.
Okay, so let's just,
We can keep going. Yeah, are there any time preferences or meeting place preferences? Is it just, it's just going to be the board?
there-
I assume there would
It's
maybe
an open
some
meeting.
interested audience.
Sure.
Okay,
I personally would like to not be in Kairos again because it's like just bad juju. You know, like,
do you want me to look for this room?
I mean, this room is good. I think this room-
This room is probably adequate for.
Yeah,
Are we expecting the community members coming though, like that?
There may be
Who's
some of
supposed to be
some of the interveners and Joel. But beyond that, I'd be very surprised if there was a lot of people.
I would share the position.
I think this one would be good, cause I think it's more conducive to having an actual dialogue.
Discussion, yeah. Are we allowed to request that they,
Already by
I know the answer to this one. If they remote, they can't, they can be in person.
No,
Yeah.
they can. It's a
So
public
this
meeting.
room can get bigger and we have the entire city management team meetings in here, so I think it can hold a bunch.
I think it would be adequate.
Yeah,
It looks like there's no meetings as of right now. So anytime.
so what would be
On the
a good
12th.
hour for you guys? It's next Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Next Thursday,
A
the
week.
12th.
I mean, same bat time, like 5:30, would that work? Is that okay with you, Marco? I know your patient count.
Thursdays are open for me.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Eric, before you write it down, does that work for you? Yeah.
5:30 to 7:30, 8:30, or later.
8:30?
I think 8:30 is reasonable.
Okay.
Okay.
I thought you were gonna say 10:30.
I know.
I'm just gonna sleep well tonight.
Okay, I have it reserved 5:30 to 8:30, June 12th,
Okay.
here
Uh,
at the master.
So the question I have is, how can we support you? Would you like hard copy of, meeting notes, exhibit content, like what would be good for you? We can make you binders of stuff that you can highlight and put stickies on. We can give you a little kit of stickies and highlighters, like what would work for you? We want to be sure we give you whatever you need to have the information you need.
Speak up.
Can the updated evidence list, cause I think there was changes from
Yeah,
like when we
it's-
were initially shared information to now, so if all
Yeah.
of that could be shared with us. to be
Yeah, so we're
able
gonna
to,
have, on our website right now is the exhibit list, and each one is a link. Art went very quickly in the last couple of days on making more exhibits. And we're working with, actually the applicant is gonna help us come up with some of the connections so we can be sure that we publish that. So we can definitely give you an exhibit list that is a link.
Or just knowing when all of that's done, because I know some of the things were introduced or allowed and others weren't, so just
Yeah.
making sure that we're reviewing the appropriate material.
So we'll give you the documents, we'll give you a list of like, what is the content that you can consider.
The exhibit list has a separate entry for excluded
Okay.
exhibits, so you know by
Well, I know
reference.
some of them, they said redacting and stuff like that.
That's
so I-
noted, that's noted as
Okay.
well.
And has been done, completed.
I think as long as we have online access to it, I don't need paper copies.
Everybody agree
That's
online
fine.
access is okay?
Yeah.
Okay,
Save some trees.
Hmm?
Save some trees.
save some trees. No.
Just following up on, other than those exhibits, I don't, Dominique was mentioning, is there anything else that you think you need to help process the
Your professional
information?
opinion, Weston Sampson's presence. Obviously the briefings.
Yeah.
They'll be coming.
I think they should be helpful. Again, they're gonna be in the nature of advocacy. And they are not themselves evidence, but they should give you a good roadmap on evidence that can reinforce and support the investigation that you've all done.
Are you able to give us examples of tentative decisions that have held? Or more information on a tentative decision? Because we've been always thinking about approve with conditions, deny with fact. But now this is a new option, and so is there a way for you
I
to
will-
elaborate on how that might unfold and?
I will look. Right now, I'm not familiar. I don't have at my fingertips a tentative decision that was issued, but I will investigate that myself. To be able to report or share any more information on that scenario.
Because if I hear you correctly, it's a no decision, it's a saying. Like, again, like, I'm not clear, you said in the interest of justice, the statement of reasons therefore, so it's. Just elaborate for we humans what that actually,
I will.
how it would manifest.
That's the language, how they wrote it into the regulations. I agree with you that that is not necessarily the best guidepost. But I'm not aware of a tentative decision that has been litigated, which would provide some better contours on how that's handled, but I will investigate that
Okay,
before
you think you
Thursday.
could better explain
Sure,
scenarios.
sure.
For the meeting on Thursday, is that gonna be a special Board of Health hearing, so that will require an agenda?
Yes,
Submitted to
deliberate, the
plans.
agenda equal deliberations on. The thing we've been calling the whole time, site suitability.
Application.
And put it on our webpage for transfer station and also obviously at the city.
Great. Anything else for me?
Thank you for
Okay,
Thank you,
helping
Peter.
us.
we're almost there.
All the questions from us.
Yeah.
We
There
can
should
see
be a
the
good
finish
change
line.
next
I'm
week.
not sure it's close, but
Very good.
And in front of you, are mugs from, might be yours, you came in with them, so thank you for your endurance. Ode to the greasy pole. I forgot one for you, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'll catch you, up. I'll get you next week.
you want that?
I have a lot of them, I've been using them minutes.
Great. Okay,
Thanks so much.
thanks.
You could be in it.
we're moving on.
Yes, please.
All right. Regulatory reporting. Just go through the list here. Brief.
Yeah. Just to be clear, I told everybody to be sure that our reports were here and you could read them, but that we are all pretty wiped out. Unless there's something. Not to have to like go through, hey, here's what I did last month. I would, if possible, like Rita, if you guys are up for it, we can pick another time. Be able to, show what we're doing in OpenGov for rental registration, because it's, a great way to show how we're collecting the information and tying in with short-term rentals. But having said that, if we are exhausted, it is not a priority. And so I would rather move on unless you guys want to.
I would prefer it be happen at a later date where we can pay more attention to it.
Okay. So is there anything remarkable that we want to bring up across any of our categories of inspection? Gabby's joined us as well, by the way. Hey, did we get DNF?
Of course,
Okay,
with a
yay.
lot of rah-rah, thank you
Thank you.
for our great
Thank you.
presentation, they were all in support.
Okay.
Our food chief is on.
Yay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So one more, so what Gabby's referring to is we now have septic regulations, rental regulations, and now food regulation,
Fees.
fees. All approved, and then next week will go in our all others, so we have an update of all of our fees and keeping with all of our new regulations as well. I'm busy.
Good job.
It's very nice.
Yep, anything else remarkable?
I think that is almost remarkable.
I like this, I
Our,
think it's
our
fun.
pet dog,
On page 16. On page 16 of your packet is a postcard that we're sending out as the beginning efforts to communicate to the city about how important it is to stay compliant. So the postcard reads, "What goes down must stay down, treat your septic system right," and it has a picture of this adorable muddy dog who is saying, "No, I did not dig up the septic system, and frankly, I'm offended by the accusation." And the flip side of that talks about the requirements. What we're trying to do with this card is in a friendly, collaborative manner, with our neighbors, and we use that word neighbors, specifically. Is start to build a dialogue on like, let us help you understand what what you have to happen, and after this, we're gonna be reaching out to those who are non-compliant, they haven't, been pumping the system, or at least our records say that, and we're quite clear about our records could be wrong, because we've been working hard on centralizing them, but there's still a lot of work to do. And that will move forward with us trying to work actively with the homeowner to get compliant to what the law says, and then in instances where there is a breach or something wrong with the system, work with them to buy loan programs and other services available to correct the issue. So great example of this
I was- you
neighbor
wanna do it?
approach.
Go for
Yeah, all right.
Where does the link take you?
It takes you to
To our septic page.
yeah, to our septic page.
Okay.
Which is also under construction with a new approach that we're gonna be using to have more user-friendly web presence.
Yep.
I know you don't have a lot
It's
of.
local providers, by the way. It's like, it takes you to our septic haulers, so you can have somebody.
So you
call.
don't have to, you don't have to do the extra step. We did the homework for you. We're offering up who you can call. And I think you're gonna start to see in the coming weeks, and we're working with a new, I don't know if you call it, what.
Design firm, like-
Design firm to help us, reach out better, more professionally. Which will take them a lot less time than it takes us.
So the great story around this kind of neighbor approach is we had a situation where a septic system was directly feeding a storm drain that was running into a pretty public area. Working with DPW, we identified the septic system in question. Cody and Connor together reached out to the homeowner, brought them in, had a meeting with them, showed them the video footage, helped them understand what was going on. And worked very quickly. I think within 2 weeks, it's been corrected. Very different than sending an order letter, which we also did because we have to document. But it was more about the dialogue, like, come speak with us. Let's, help you understand what's has to happen here. So we're trying to really, again, build that dialogue with our neighbors.
Army Strong was out there the past
Yes.
couple days.
Yep,
Yes,
exactly.
and it was completed yesterday. They were able to tie in without any issue. It was it went perfectly.
Good.
So for that, we're blessed.
Storm drain signs is one of the things.
And we put up we now have storm drain signs that will go out on any of the beaches that have direct access to a storm drain to alert folks that they shouldn't play in them. Because they have
That's
bacteria.
adorable. Again, I don't know if you have a picture of it in here, but Danielle did it again.
The storm drains,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a picture.
I've
of
Oh,
it.
there is?
picture of it,
It's in Connor's section.
Um,
And then I think also, two other things, the septic design plan review that started months and months and months ago has finally gone live, so now we are paperless. We hope to be paperless. for design plan review, which will be big. And for those of you who sit on the septic review subcommittee, the variance is now incorporated into it, so it won't be a separate packet. It's all part of one process. So hopefully we'll make that a lot.
The sign is on page 10 of your packet. It has a circle with a little rock, line through a knot sign, and it has, a child by a storm drain playing in the sand. So again, thank you, Danielle.
Which could have been a photograph of what.
It could have been. It could have been. Exactly.
So, but that's, and we're putting that at all places where we have storm drain off into public beaches, so just to help people understand, it's best to avoid those areas.
I don't know if we wanted to share, it is of note that our rental reg website is now up with some of the resources and easy user guides. So that is up as of yesterday, I think.
And continues to be a work in progress.
It will continue to improve and have more value-added services connected to it. But certainly when people are asking about it, we can direct them there. It's very different from our old website and much easier to use. Above the fold information.
Yes, it's my mantra right now.
So we've done a lot of work in this month or so.
Yeah.
As have you guys, so we've all been so busy.
I can share it real quick if you want me to. Really quick. All right, it might take a minute. You can continue.
Okay.
I'll pull it up.
Chelsea, you want to catch us up on what's been going on in the health services side of the house?
I'll go very quick. May was Mental Health Awareness Month. We hosted a series of 7 youth mental health first aid trainings and trained about 70 people across the region. As certified youth mental health first aiders, we're able to spot the
Is that
signs.
multiple events?
Yes, there were 7 different, so each training is an 8-hour training. Some of them were split across 2 days into 4-hour chunks. Some of them were a full 8-hour day. We had one in each of the 7 communities in the Regional Youth Prevention Network from Danvers up through Rockport. So that was awesome, really exciting, tons of people. We've only gotten good feedback from folks who took the training,
Good.
ranging from, grandparents who wanted to better learn how to support their grandchildren to mental health professionals who are just trying to learn some new skills. So that was very exciting. We also are actively promoting our Trusted Adult campaign. We've had over 300 nominations, so we're encouraging youth again across the region to nominate a trusted adult in their lives. Each adult is getting a certificate framed, and we're choosing a few, a select few to interview to create kind of a longer form video as well. We had in the fall, we had a video of youth talking about the qualities they look for in a trusted adult. Now the youth have identified those trusted adults in their lives. Now we're gonna have those adults speak about what that means to them. So stay tuned for that video. And we have our big event coming up next Saturday, June 14th. I only have 2 flyers, but pass them around. Teen Summer Send Off, it's our 5th year in a row doing it. Saturday, June 14th from 12 to 3 p.m. at the Rockport Teen Center. It's completely free. It's intended for high school students and rising high school students, like kids who are currently in 8th grade. Again, from across the region, there will be free food, a therapy horse, therapy dogs, field games, henna tattoos, tarot card reading, a photo booth, raffle items, and resource tables. So
DJ.
we might not have a DJ this year. We did last year. We're still working on a DJ because the people have been fully booked. If we don't have a DJ, we will have.
Apple
We have a-
iTunes on a speaker, I mean,
We do have a huge JBL speaker, so we will have music,
yeah,
play appropriate music like.
can't imagine kids getting together without music, like.
Oh, yeah, there'll be music.
It's a
So
new
it's.
career for you.
Yeah.
Danielle.
It's super fun. I encourage anyone who would like to stop by, to either volunteer or just to say hello. We will be there. and it will not rain. Lastly, very quickly, I will share that, our Gloucester Youth Leadership Council wrote and acted in 2 video PSAs, aimed at educating parents about the importance of setting clear boundaries about not using alcohol and not providing alcohol either intentionally or unintentionally, to their youth. Those videos are now on the GYLC YouTube page and have each gotten over 4,000 views on social
Whoa,
media in the past few days.
awesome. Are you doing SEO in any way? Like,
We did pay to boost the ad, so
Okay.
David Tucker, is managing a Youth for Youth grant that is supporting all this work, and so we were able to leverage some of those grant funds to pay to boost the ads, and it's working, so, it's literally only been up for a few days. So check those out if you're interested, and that's all I'm gonna share.
I have one thing on the public health nursing side, in our BioBot data. We have Canapine found, which is a non-FDA approved drug, and it's appearing in products on shelves like 7-Eleven and not, I'm not saying it's in 7-Eleven, but convenience stores, use that word choice. Called Zaza, Tiana Red. And it's, can be pretty hazardous, but what was fantastic about this was, it was discovered in our BioBot reporting. Our police force also had access to the same BioBot reporting. And they, immediately put out some public service announcements, across all of their waves,
Did they have to
and
be
visited.
prompted to do that?
Hmm.
Were they prompted by you to do
No,
that?
Cindy reached out, Cindy and I spoke about it, and I'm like, let's call the Gloucester Police. Well, first we called the Abbey to say like, is this remarkable? And she's like, this is remarkable. And then, we called the police, to just talk about it, and they immediately jumped all over it.
Good.
So it's just a great way to demonstrate the power of having this wastewater data and being able to respond really quickly. So they visited all the, shops to remind folks if they can't have it. They put public service announcements out there around the same. So it's just a great example of collaboration around that data. So thank you again for advocating that. And it was again budget approved. Our budget is approved, by the way, for next year, including bio.
Such as it is, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's approved to be enough. It has to get approved by city council. I think the 10th is the hearing and the 17th is the vote, but you guys should hear the meeting I'll send it to you if you want, but they were really universally talking about how pleased they are with the work that the health department's doing. So,
And that was echoed again this evening.
all right,
Oh, real quickly, this is just to throw together a holding spot for now. We use Google Sites for this, so this is the homepage, quick outline, old regulations,
And
new
that-
regulation.
Danielle, sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
but does that page, is it linked to from the first page of the
Yes.
department?
Yep, it's linked on the health department homepage. And we have a small landlord landing page right now with a quick guide to the regulations and some of the programs, they're all linked there and similar on the tenant side. And like Gabby and Dominique were saying, I can go back. We're working with a local design group to flesh it out more, but this is just a starting landing page that
yeah, and from here, we're doing things like when a landlord registers, we'll have the address and the fact that they're permitted available, and even if they've been inspected, so people can start to use it as a resource. We're gonna allow tenants, we think by August we'll be prepared to do that. Allow tenants to get in and get certified as understanding the regulations and opt in to say like, yes, you can, either let my landlord know or print me out a certification sheet so that they can go to their landlord as attaching it with their application or something. We're gonna be talking to all of our real estate organizations to make sure that they're clear on the new regulations and helping them guide their landlords on how to do it. And of course, this is linking, right now we're capturing an email to be able to be sure that we can get back in touch with these folks. But I think this week we'll have our permitting platform up where we're gonna take them through the process of gathering all the data that we need, which you guys have seen before, and then permitting them, and it's collaborating with our building department and short-term rentals, which is I think a first time thing. Where 2 departments are working together. And, the applicant will get one bill, like, based on what they need from the city, rather than I'm gonna go to the building department and do this and key in all this stuff, and I'm gonna go over here to the health department and key all this stuff in. So we're, kind of trying to improve user experience. So it took a lot of work, and shout out to our IT organization who, has a huge technical demand right now because of open headcount and really has rallied to make this happen.
This is great. From the user's perspective, I think getting to these pages is often the most difficult thing.
Yeah, I agree.
And so on the first page, it should be pretty obvious.
Can you go to the homepage?
Yeah, right now, so the page I just showed you, we just uploaded that yesterday. And the plan is to put a link right here where it says newly adopted rental regs. That links to the page that we were just on. It is over here, but like you said, it's not super obvious.
And we're working with this creative firm to say, how do we build a communication plan for like what will be our social media advertisements, what will be our press plan, our email outreach, our direct mail outreach.
Yeah.
So I'm really trying to get wise about how to communicate well, right? So people, it's not a tree falling in the forest, like we can really make a difference here, yeah. And working with organizations like Action, right, to collaborate on how we can promote the services that they have for our landlords and vice versa.
It's great. I mean, all the work you guys have done to get these new regulations in place, new scheme to charge people and get people educated. Be a shame not to have it visible, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Amazing work. Thank you.
Right?
Any other comments from other inspection services?
Nothing remarkable, and again, if you have any questions, let us know, we're happy to respond.
No, that's fine. Do we have anything else?
Do we have a question for Bobby that was pending?
Concerns of the board.
Whether or not she can finish the notes on time, is Bobby with us yet?
Oh, no, she never
Okay,
responded.
we'll follow up with her and let you know, and try and help her understand that the 10th is, kind of the finish deadline.
Send me the
So-
link that I need.
Beg your pardon?
Send me the link
Will do.
that I need.
Yes, will do.
Are we
Danielle,
now?
you take a note of that to make sure we
Sorry.
get Eric the meeting,
Yes.
meeting had to leave
I missed
early.
about an hour and a half.
Yeah,
Was it the third meeting?
Eric, do you remember what day you had to get out?
I think it was the one that started at 3, the Thursday
Yeah.
3 meeting.
You had to leave at 5:30, that's right.
Thursday.
So it was the meeting that started at 3 o'clock. You need the link to the form as well to fill out.
I think I have it.
Okay.
Pretty sure I have it somewhere.
Yeah, so that was the Tuesday meeting, right?
No, it's the
Monday.
Thursday.
Thursday, the 29th.
Yeah, it was
Thursday.
Black Thursday.
Complete 30 at this point.
So are we down to concerns of the board?
Yes.
Any concerns? Aaron?
No concerns, just a huge thank you to Dominique and everyone who's helped with communicating everything in regards to all the hearings that we've had to do. because Yeah, it was a lot, so thank you for your support that you've provided, so it's really appreciated. A huge lift, I'm sure, not quite over, but thank you for the
I
support,
really want you
so.
guys to be needy, like
Yeah.
tell us what you need.
so
Like if
thank
you start to look
for-
at stuff and you're like, oh, I wish I had this, let us know, like, I wish I had this, and then we can like make it for you.
No, you've been extremely helpful, and I think the support of Peter and the other Peter and all of that has been extremely helpful in understanding the process. So thank you all for everything that you've done to make it much easier for us to go through, especially myself. Now that I wasn't familiar with this, so it's been helpful to have, so thank you.
Seconded. Any other comments? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Marco, yes.
Yes.
We are done. Thank you all.
Name.